Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Team Taco. I'm Jay.
I'm Steph.
And today we're coming to visit a place that we just heard of. It's called the Museum of Ancient Wonders. And it's kind of crazy. It's here in like a small little strip mall.
Little shop here. It's next to Big Lots.
Next to Big Lots. But we're going to go check it out. So come with us. Enjoy the venture. So here we are, again, it's in a small little strip mall here, next to Big Lots. See, little strip mall. Denny's down the way. But, the Museum of Ancient Wonders. And Steph is all about the pizza and beer right now. So let's check this out. Here we go.
Adults 15. Seniors.
Not a senior yet.
Oh.
I just look like one.
Okay.
Let's go.
Now let me take your attention here to this fossil. Do you recognize it? Have you ever heard of it before?
It's not Lucy.
Indeed.
It is Lucy.
It is Lucy, the oldest of human ancestors and the first of the bipedal apes that gave rise to our species. And when we look at Lucy, the magic bone is the femur right here. You'll notice it's angled inward like ours. When we go to the zoo and we look at a chimpanzee or a gorilla flock, and they are our closest relatives in the animal kingdom, but when we watch them, their hips swivel outward, which causes their knees to go outward. And when they try to walk, it causes their upper torso to fall forward. And so they use all their limbs to break their fall. So chimpanzees and gorillas are quadrupedal, using all four limbs to ambulate. But when we look at Lucy, we're looking at an ape who was walking erect, bipedal, just like us. Now, that does not make her a human being, because she was very much an ape, living in the trees, and coming down from the trees onto the high grasslands to forage for food. But the fact that she ambulated like us, bipedal, without using her hands to break her fall, she is a human ancestor, but very much an ape. And in fact, her special name is Australopithecus afarensis, which means southern ape of the Afar region of Ethiopia. Now, you can read more about her here on the stand. We have a lovely narrative that you can read, and we also have images of what Lucy may have looked like 3.2 million years ago. Here's a depiction of Lucy from the University of Michigan, their Natural History Museum. Here she is, standing erect, long arms, curved fingers for tree climbing, and here they've depicted her scratching her forehead, perhaps thinking, what should become of me? And here we are, standing before her, kind of answering her question for her. Here we see another depiction of Lucy with a male companion from the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. Here they are leaving their footprints in volcanic ash. These footprints are very famous. They're called the Laetoli footprints, and they originate in Tanzania. Lucy, her bones were found in Ethiopia. And here we have a depiction of what one of her children may have looked like. graphic that you see, what used to be window shutters, is a contemporary graphic made by an African graphic artist And I can explain it to you very quickly.
Yes, please.
Each one of these squares, each one of these upended squares represents an individual, a tribal community, or an entire nation. And as each individual tribe or nation take a path in life, they encounter the circle of eternity, where many of us encounter other individuals. And as we pass through the circle of eternity, our ideas, our ideals are intermixed and interwoven and transform us as we leave the circle of eternity and transformed into a new square. So it is a graphic design that tells us that we are all unified. It is the symbol of unification between individuals, tribal communities, and nations. But here in the main gallery, we have reproductions from the treasures of the tomb of Tutankhamun, a little boy who became pharaoh at the age of 9 years. It begins on the right with an introduction to ancient Egypt, their traditions, their mythology, and their rituals. And then on the left, we introduce you to King Tut's mother, Nefertiti, and his father, Akhenaten. But here in the center of the gallery, we are essentially looking at what Howard Carter saw when he first entered the tomb.
The whole setup?
This is a tableau of what Howard Carter saw when he entered. Now, when you look on the walls, you'll see pictures of the tomb in situ, as it was before anything was removed. So the pictures mirror what's happening in the exhibition gallery. So there was a doorway in the center made of rock and plaster, and on the plaster wall there was a name of a pharaoh that Howard Carter had never heard of before. He was a British archaeologist and knew the list of pharaohs, but noticed a cartouche, the name of the pharaoh in hieroglyphs, that he was not familiar with. So he was very curious as to what this tomb might contain. So when they broke down the wall, they noticed that the entrance was flanked by these two statues. They are the Ba and the Ka, the twin spirits of the pharaoh. One represents his personality, and the other one represents his spirit. And if anyone were to dare enter the tomb, these statues were to become reanimated and fracture the skull of the intruder with the mace they hold in their hands. Fortunately for Howard Carter and his aristocratic benefactor, Lord Carnarvon, whom, by the way, if you know of Downton Abbey, that castle was Lord Carnarvon's castle. When they entered the tomb, the statues did not come back to life. And Howard Carter made one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of all time. Now, when you enter the second gallery, you're going to be focusing on his private life, where you'll see his more intimate objects, followed by a few objects associated with his public life, like his golden state chariot and throne, and then finally, a recreation of his bejeweled mummy, surrounded by artifacts associated with his death and his afterlife. And so here we have an example of Akhenaten during his first 2 years of reign. And even in this particular sculpture up here, he doesn't look as strong and as athletic as most of the pharaohs.
So that's actually what he saw when he first when he first walked in. And that is a replica of this.
And so even though he is being depicted here by the rules,
Amazing. Trying to get the actual.
Like kind of right here. Right here. Like kind of like a little off to the corner.
Yeah. I think you're right.
His toes, his arms, and even more widening of his hip was noted.
Arms.
Which is a genetic.
They're fitted with the heads of a human, a baboon, a jackal, and a falcon. So it's going that way.
From right to left.
And they actually said they had organs After 21st Dynasty, the organs were customarily returned to the mummy. Non-functional miniature continued to be included ceremonially. So they used to have the organs in there.
In turn, he has gifted her with a table of metals. On the top of the table, you see a broad-colored photo.
Wow, look at that. And this is, I guess, their kind of board game. So I guess they have family game night too, huh?
Oh, the religious text of the Book of the Dead refers to Senate with this as one of the pastimes in the afterlife.
So they play board games in the afterlife. Awesome.
It says when he died, all labor halted and ritual fasting was observed. And the Pharaoh's men stopped shaving until his burial 70 days later.
Wow. Now that is the ultimate dog bed.
By the way, I want you to stop shaving for 70 days after I die. No shaving.
No shaving?
No shaving, no
All
cutting
right.
the hair, nothing.
Deal.
Alright. It's a couch. That's a high couch. It was the first thing that Howard Carter saw when he broke the seal of the tomb.
That's funny that the first thing you see is what? A couch. So even back then, they were couch potatoes.
It says an inscription from the Book of the Divine Cow found, alludes to its sacred function as a solar rock. Is it for bearing the pharaoh to the heavens? That's a perfume flask.
It's perfume?
Yeah, see, so mounted. It's an ornate flask, was fashioned in the form of a double cartouche, enclosing images of the pharaoh himself rather than his name. And the city found traces of residue in the two separate chambers, confirmed that it was used as a container for jewels.
So wow, there was actually still perfume in there.
Yeah, that's better.
Obsession.
So there was a doorway in the center made of rock and plaster. And on the plaster wall, there was a name of a pharaoh that Howard Carter had never heard of before.